Most people approach manifestation as if they are climbing a steep mountain, step by painful step. Pushing forward, working tirelessly towards a distant peak. But what if I told you that true quantum manifestation doesn't work forward at all? It works backwards, and once you understand why, you will never see reality the same way again. You have been taught to desire your way into a new reality. But every time you focus on what you want as something you do not yet have, you are speaking the universe's language of absence. You are broadcasting a frequency of not yet, and the quantum field, being the perfect mirror that it is, faithfully reflects that very distance right back to you. In this video, we are going to dismantle that old paradigm. You will discover the revolutionary secret of backward manifestation, the art of selecting a reality that already exists and allowing the future to reorganize the present. This isn't about thinking positively. It is about applying the fundamental principles of quantum mechanics to your own consciousness. Stay with me, because the journey is not about bridging the gap to your desires. It is about dissolving it entirely. You have likely spent countless hours imagining your ideal life, repeating affirmations until your voice is hoarse, trying to convince the universe that you truly deserve what you are asking for. And maybe, sometimes, it has worked, but more often than not, you are likely left with that familiar, frustrating feeling of reaching through glass, touching something that seems so close, yet remains impossibly out of reach. Here is what happens when you manifest forward. Every time you focus on what you want as something you do not yet have, you are speaking the language of absence. You are broadcasting to the quantum field that this thing, this experience, this reality exists somewhere else, in some future moment that is separate from you now, and the field, being the perfect and impersonal mirror that it is, reflects that exact truth back to you. Absence, distance, not yet. Think about this for a moment. When you say the words, "I want to be abundant," what are you really declaring to the universe? You are, in that very moment, affirming that abundance is a state you currently lack. When you visualize your dream relationship as something you are trying to attract, you are energetically confirming that love is missing from your present experience. The very act of wanting creates the powerful energetic signature of not having. This is the subtle trap that keeps so many people on a perpetual treadmill of seeking, never arriving. This is where quantum manifestation reveals its revolutionary secret. Instead of moving from a state of lack toward a future state of fulfillment, you begin from fulfillment itself. You do not manifest by reaching forward into a future possibility. You manifest by stepping backward into a reality that already exists in the quantum field, and then living from that space as your new truth, the quantum archive of reality. Now, everything you could ever desire or imagine already exists as a complete, whole, and perfect reality in the infinite field of potential. Every possible version of your life, from the most mundane to the most extraordinary, is already written, already real, and already waiting for you. You are not creating something new from scratch. You are selecting something that already is. The quantum field operates on a principle that most of us find difficult to accept because our minds are trained in linear, cause and effect thinking, but at the quantum level. Time is not a straight line, and causation is not what we think it is. The future can, and does, influence the present just as much as the past influences the present. When you align your entire being with an outcome that already exists in potential, you create what some scientists call retrocausality. The future state literally begins to reach back through time and organize the present moment to match its own frequency. But here is where most people stumble. They try to use this profound knowledge as just another technique, another clever method to get what they want. They think, okay, I'll just pretend I already have it, and then it will show up. But pretending is not embodying. Hoping is not the same as knowing. And wanting, even if you dress it up in future tense language, is still wanting. True backward manifestation requires something far more radical. It requires the complete dissolution of the energetic gap between you and your desire. Not bridging the gap, not shortening the gap, but eliminating it entirely. When there is no gap, there is no journey. When there is no journey, there is only arrival. And when there is only arrival, manifestation becomes as natural and as effortless as breathing. Your consciousness is not bound by the same rules that govern physical matter. Your awareness can exist in any reality, at any point in what we call time, instantly, the moment you choose to inhabit and embody the consciousness of the person who already lives the reality you desire. You begin broadcasting that exact frequency, and the quantum field, which is unable to distinguish between a vividly imagined and embodied experience and an actual physical experience, begins to collapse probability waves to perfectly match your new state of being. This is not positive thinking. This is not simply visualization. This is quantum mechanics, applied to the technology of consciousness itself. Reading the story from the end, let me give you an analogy that makes this crystal clear. Imagine you are reading a complex mystery novel, but instead of starting at chapter 1, you flip to the final page and read exactly how it ends. You know the outcome, you know who the culprit is, you know the final resolution. Now, as you go back and read the book from the beginning, every clue, every conversation, and every seemingly random event takes on a profound new meaning. You are not filled with anxiety, wondering what will happen. You know, and that knowing changes how you experience every single page. Backward manifestation works in exactly the same way. When you start from the unshakable, embodied knowing of how your story ends, every present moment begins to reorganize itself around that inevitable conclusion. Opportunities appear that perfectly support your outcome. Coincidences arrange themselves with a kind of mathematical precision. The right people show up at exactly the right moment. Resources flow effortlessly into your experience, not because you are trying to make these things happen, but because they are the natural, logical result of aligning with a timeline where they have already happened. The most profound part of this understanding is how it dissolves all anxiety and urgency. When you know how the story ends, there is no need to force the plot. There is no need to manipulate the other characters. There is no need to rush the timing. You simply allow the story to unfold with the calm confidence that comes from already knowing its glorious conclusion. This is why people who have truly mastered manifestation seem so calm, so certain, and so unattached to specific outcomes. They are not hoping for results. They are not waiting for external confirmation. They are living from a place where the result is already achieved, and the confirmation has already been received internally. Their state of being reflects completion, not longing, fulfillment, not desire, gratitude, not need, and in that state, the universe stops testing you, because your frequency is broadcasting absolute certainty, the three pillars of backward manifestation. So, let's go deeper into the practical mechanics of this process, because understanding the theory is just the beginning. The real transformation happens when you learn to live from this understanding. 1. Reality selection. The first step is what I call reality selection. Instead of trying to create your desired outcome from a place of lack, you select it from the infinite menu of possibilities that already exist. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine that you are standing in a vast, silent, cosmic archive. Every possible version of your life exists here as a complete, living reality. The version where you are financially abundant and free. The version where you are in perfect, radiant health. The version where you are living your soul's deepest and most joyful purpose. They are all here, all equally real, all equally accessible. Your job is not to build one of these realities from scratch. Your job is to choose one, and then to step into it fully with your entire being. Feel what it feels like to be the version of you who already lives that reality. Notice how that version of you thinks, breathes, and moves through the world. What does certainty feel like in your body? What does fulfillment feel like in your nervous system? How does gratitude change your posture, your breathing, your entire energetic presence? This is not imagination. This is quantum consciousness selecting which reality stream to align with. The moment you make this selection, your faults begin to reorganize around that new identity. Your emotions stabilize in that new frequency. Your actions begin to flow naturally from that new state of being. But here is the crucial part that most people miss. You cannot do this from a place of lack. Trying to become abundant, you cannot embody fulfillment while still energetically grasping for what you do not have. The selection must be complete, total, and unconditional. When you choose a reality, you choose it so completely that the old reality simply begins to dissolve. This is the quantum leap. It is not a gradual transition from one state to another. It is an instantaneous shift in consciousness from one timeline to another. 2. Embodied certainty. The second element is embodied certainty. This goes far beyond belief, beyond faith, and beyond hope. Certainty is the quiet, unshakable knowing that exists in your cells, in your breath, and in the very way you walk through the world. It is not something you think about. It is something you are. When you embody this level of certainty, you stop looking for external evidence that your manifestation is working. You stop checking your bank account for signs of increasing abundance. You stop analyzing every interaction for hints of romantic possibility. You stop monitoring your body for indications of improving health. Why? Because when you know something is already done, You no longer need confirmation from the outside world. The confirmation exists as a constant, steady state within your own being. This is perhaps the most counterintuitive and powerful aspect of quantum manifestation. The moment you stop needing the evidence is the moment the evidence begins to appear everywhere. When you are no longer seeking proof, proof begins to seek you. Embodied certainty creates what quantum physicists call coherence. Your thoughts, emotions, and actions all align around a single, clear frequency. There is no internal contradiction, no energetic static, and no mixed signals. You become a clear, powerful, and consistent broadcaster of one single reality. 3. Reality assumption. This is where the third element comes in, the practice of reality assumption. This is the conscious and deliberate choice to live from your selected timeline. Regardless of what your current external circumstances may be reflecting back to you. It is not about denying what you see. It is about choosing what you embody. Your current circumstances are simply the echo, the lag time, of your past states of being. They are not indicators of what is possible for you now. They are not limits on what is available to you. When you assume your new reality, you begin making choices from that place. If you have selected the timeline where you are financially abundant, you make decisions from a place of abundance, not from a place of scarcity. If you have chosen the reality where you are in perfect health, you begin to treat your body like a sacred temple, not a problem to be fixed. If you have embodied the version of yourself who lives their deepest purpose, you move through the world with that purpose as your guide, not as a distant goal you are chasing. This is not about taking massive, forced action. It is about subtle, consistent, energetic alignment. The person who lives in abundance thinks different thoughts than the person who struggles with money. The person who enjoys perfect health has different daily habits than the person who constantly fights illness. The person who lives their purpose moves with a different kind of energy than the person who is still searching for meaning. As you begin living from your selected reality, something miraculous happens. The gap between your internal state and your external circumstances begins to collapse. Not because you are forcing the change, but because you have aligned with a timeline where that change is the natural, inevitable outcome. The future version of you begins reaching back through time, organizing your present moment to support the outcome you have already embodied. Pause for a moment and feel this in your body. Take a deep breath and imagine the version of you who already lives your ideal reality. How does that version of you breathe? How do they hold their shoulders? This is your natural frequency. This understanding is revolutionary because it recognizes that external reality is always a reflection of your internal state. But this leads to the most crucial and practical part of this entire process. It is one thing to select and embody a new reality for a few hours or even a few days. It is another thing entirely to maintain that frequency when your old reality pushes back with apparent contradictions. What do you do when a bill arrives that seems to challenge your new state of abundance? This is the art of what I call timeline coherence, and it is the bridge between a temporary shift and a permanent transformation. And that is exactly where we will go next. This is the art of what I call timeline coherence. and it is the bridge between a temporary energetic shift and a permanent transformation in your life. It's the moment the real practice begins, because what happens when a relationship challenge suddenly emerges, or a health issue unexpectedly surfaces? These apparent contradictions are not signs that the process is failing. They are often the last, lingering echoes of old timelines being cleared from your experience. The quantum field must reorganize itself around your new, dominant frequency, and sometimes that reorganization involves the final surfacing and release of old patterns that simply cannot exist in your chosen reality. When these moments arise, your response determines everything. Do you allow external circumstances to convince you that your new, chosen reality isn't real? Or do you use these moments as profound opportunities to deepen your embodiment of that timeline? The version of you who already lives your ideal reality would handle these situations differently than the version of you who struggles with them. How would they think? How would they feel? How would they respond? This is the practice of reality override. Consciously choosing your response from your selected identity rather than from your habitual, automatic patterns. It is not about denying what is happening. It is about choosing how you will be with what is happening. The very same situation can either reinforce your old reality or confirm your new one, depending entirely on which version of yourself you choose to embody in that moment. Quantum surrender, the art of giving an over. This might seem contradictory after everything we have discussed about conscious choice and deliberate embodiment. But the final piece of this puzzle is what I call quantum surrender. This is the completion of the entire backward manifestation process. Quantum surrender is not giving up. It is giving over. It is the profound recognition that once you have selected your reality, aligned with its frequency, and committed to embodying it, your most important job is done. The how, the when, and the specific, often surprising pathway through which your reality will manifest. These are not your responsibility. They are the domain of the quantum field's infinite intelligence to orchestrate. This kind of deep surrender is only possible when you have truly and fully embodied your chosen reality. You cannot surrender from a place of uncertainty or doubt. That is just a form of spiritual bypassing. You can only truly surrender from a place of unshakable knowing, when you know that your reality is already an established fact in the quantum field. And when you know that your consistent embodiment is creating the energetic bridge between that potential and your physical manifestation, then you can finally relax into the process. Surrender eliminates the last, stubborn traces of effort and strain from your manifestation process. It is the crucial difference between trying to make something happen and allowing something to happen. When you surrender, you stop anxiously monitoring the process and you start joyfully living the process. You stop checking for results and you start living as if the results are already here. This is when manifestation becomes truly, beautifully effortless, when you are no longer pushing or pulling, forcing or manipulating, trying or efforting. You are simply being, and in that state of pure being, perfectly aligned with your truth, the quantum field can work its magic without your interference. The most beautiful part of this entire process is that it transforms not just what you manifest, but who you become in the process. Backward manifestation is not just a technique for getting what you want. It is a path to becoming who you truly are. The version of you that lives your ideal reality isn't just someone who has different circumstances. They are someone who embodies different qualities, different wisdom, and a different kind of love. As you align with this version of yourself, you don't just receive external changes, you receive a profound internal transformation. You become more patient, more trusting, more present. You become more grateful, more generous, more authentic. You become more yourself than you have ever been. The quantum ripple effect, influencing the collective. And this transformation inevitably ripples out into every area of your life, touching everyone around you. Your family feels it, your friends notice it, strangers are drawn to it. You become a living example of what is possible when someone aligns with their truth. But let's explore something even deeper, what I call the quantum ripple effect. When you master backward manifestation, you do not just change your personal reality, you begin to influence the collective field of consciousness itself. Every time you embody a higher frequency, every moment you choose alignment over resistance, you are contributing to what scientists are beginning to understand as morphic resonance. This is the idea that when enough individuals in a system embody a new pattern, it becomes exponentially easier for others in that same system to access that same pattern. Think about how certain great breakthroughs in human understanding seem to happen simultaneously across the globe, even when the individuals involved have no direct contact with each other. This is happening right now with the understanding of quantum manifestation. As more people discover this power, a new template is being established in the collective consciousness. Your journey of mastery does not just serve your personal evolution, it serves the evolution of humanity. Every time you choose embodiment over effort, you are casting an energetic vote for a new way of being human. This is not the heavy burden of having to save the world, but the elegant responsibility of being utterly authentic to your highest truth. When you live from your aligned state, you naturally contribute to the elevation of the entire field. Advanced practice, quantum mobility and timeline navigation. Now, what happens when you begin to understand that every reality you could possibly experience already exists? Not just as a potential, but as an actual, living timeline. The quantum field isn't just a collection of possibilities waiting to be collapsed. It is an infinite web of parallel realities, all equally real, all equally accessible, all existing simultaneously. When you truly grasp this, manifestation becomes less about creating something new and more about consciously navigating between existing realities. You begin to see yourself not as someone trying to change their circumstances, but as a consciousness traveler, shifting between timelines and selecting which reality stream to experience. This perspective shift is revolutionary because it eliminates the last traces of powerlessness. You are not hoping the universe will grant your request. You are simply choosing which of the infinite realities you wish to inhabit and then aligning your consciousness with that choice. This is what advanced practitioners of backward manifestation learn to do. They develop what I call quantum mobility. the ability to consciously and fluidly shift between timeline streams. This requires a level of consciousness fluidity that most people have not yet developed. You must be willing to let go of your attachment to being a fixed, solid identity and instead embrace being a flowing, adaptable consciousness. You must release the need to understand how the shift happens and simply trust your ability to navigate by feeling and resonance. When you develop quantum mobility, reality becomes much more fluid and responsive. Instead of waiting months or years for changes to manifest, you can experience profound shifts in days or even hours, because you are simply sliding into the timeline where those circumstances already exist. But this level of mastery requires something that most people resist: the complete dissolution of victim consciousness. As long as you believe that external circumstances have power over your internal state, you remain locked into reactive timelines. Quantum mobility is only possible when you fully embody the understanding that your state of consciousness creates your experience of reality. This knowing doesn't come from reading about it. It comes from practicing it so consistently that you prove to yourself that you have this power. The ultimate truth, frequency sovereignty. This brings us to the final, deepest truth of backward manifestation, what I call frequency sovereignty. As you develop mastery, you begin to understand that your personal frequency is your most valuable asset. Not your money, not your connections, not your skills, but the vibrational stage you consistently embody. Your frequency is like a radio signal that broadcasts to the quantum field 24/7. It never stops transmitting, and the field never stops responding. Most people broadcast a mixed, chaotic signal. Part of their frequency says they want abundance, while another part broadcasts scarcity. Part of their signal calls for love, while another part transmits fear. Frequency sovereignty means taking complete and radical responsibility for the signal you are broadcasting. It means becoming subconscious of your thoughts, your emotions, and your beliefs that you can maintain a coherent transmission, regardless of external circumstances. When you achieve frequency sovereignty, you become immune to the unconscious programming of the collective. Other people's fears do not automatically trigger your fear. Other people's limitations do not activate your own. Other people's chaos does not disturb your peace. This doesn't mean you become cold or unfeeling. It means you become so grounded in your own truth that you can extend love and compassion without absorbing another's pain. Your presence becomes a stabilizing force, a tuning fork that helps others remember their own creative power. But frequency sovereignty also reveals the deepest truth of all. You are not manifesting from a place of lack, trying to create abundance. You are abundance itself, temporarily forgetting its true nature and then remembering it. You are not trying to attract love from outside yourself. You are love, learning to embody its essence more fully. When this recognition deepens, manifestation becomes an act of profound self-recognition rather than self-improvement. You are not creating a new reality. You are stepping into the reality that has always been yours. As we come to the completion of this exploration, I want you to feel into the truth of everything we have covered. The understanding that manifestation works backwards, that you start from the outcome rather than reaching toward it, the recognition that every reality already exists, waiting for your selection, the practice of embodying your chosen timeline with such consistency that it becomes your natural, default state. Feel how different this is from everything you have been taught about creating change. Sense the profound relief that comes from knowing that you do not have to earn your desires or prove your worthiness. You simply have to choose what already exists and live from that choice with unwavering consistency. This is not just a new way of manifesting, this is a new way of living. It is a recognition that you are not separate from the creative force of the universe. You are that force, expressing itself through the unique lens of your consciousness. Your desires are not burdens to be solved. They are invitations to explore new aspects of your unlimited nature. As you integrate this understanding, remember that you are not just changing your own reality. You are contributing to a collective shift in how humanity relates to creation itself. If this understanding has awakened something profound within you, if you feel called to stay connected to this frequency and continue exploring the intersection of consciousness and quantum mechanics, I invite you to subscribe. This is more than a channel. It is a community of people who know that reality is malleable and that consciousness is creative. And before we close, I want to invite you to participate in this collective transformation. Go to the comments below and declare the energy you are choosing to embody moving forward. Not what you want to attract, but what you are now ready to be. This single word is your signature to the quantum field. Thank you for your time and your presence. The quantum field is always responding. Reality is always shifting. The only question is which version of yourself you choose to be. Your journey starts now, not with wanting, but with being. Welcome to the truth of who you have always been.